Welcome to the March 3rd, 2026 work session for the Rutherford County School Board. We'll be opening the meeting with a brief moment of silence or prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag. No one is required to participate or be present for any of these, and being in this portion of the meeting is completely voluntary. Tonight's prayer and pledge will be led by Ms. Tammy Sharp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dear Lord, we thank you for today. It was such a beautiful day. I saw the daffodils bloom, and we thank you for those. We know that this is a fake spring, and we'll have some more winter, but we thank you, Lord, that you're going to protect us, protect our children, protect our staff, and our teachers. Please be with us tonight as we discuss and make decisions. We thank you for your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll give everyone just a moment to look over the agenda, if there's any changes that need to be made or any questions or comments. Next, we can move on to the consent agenda. If there's any changes you would like to make or any comments or questions. Okay. There will be no public comments tonight, and we're going to do RCS difference on Thursday as well. So the first thing up is instruction.
Yeah, and just so you know, that was RCS Proud. We've rebranded it to RCS Difference, so we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a little while with our marketing stuff. So first we have instruction. So this is Visual and Performing Arts Distinguished Graduate Program. Instruction departments requesting to implement a graduate distinction program to prepare and recognize students seeking future studies and careers in creative arts industries. Students completing all requirements will receive a medal to wear at graduation and have the distinction printed on their high school transcripts. The program will be managed by the Fine Arts Department under the supervision of Dr. Lindsay Halford. It will be offered to students beginning in this upcoming 26-27 school year. 3 credits in fine arts. The student must complete at least 3 fine arts credit hours in a single artistic discipline, dance, music, theater, visual arts, or media arts. They must be on track to graduate, so meet all our graduation requirements. They must have active participation, present evidence of active participation in their school arts program. They must have teacher recommendations. They must have arts-related community or industry service, so 20 hours of unpaid arts-related community service. And then they must finish with a signature arts project. So complete a major project in the chosen arts discipline, demonstrating artistic skill, growth, and readiness for further study and or careers in the arts. So I think it's a great idea. Dr. Halford, anything else you want to say, add to that? You want
to come up here?
Yeah, I think it's great.
I think it's fantastic, actually.
Yes, we're very excited about this program. This came about by looking across the country and seeing that programs like this exist at the state level in many states. Florida, Arizona, Kentucky, Georgia all have state seals for fine arts. And we've kind of been talking with some of our TDOE folks over the last few years and saying this would be a great thing for us to have in Tennessee, and there's not been any traction. And here in Rutherford County, we just don't really wait around for someone to do the work for us. We just go ahead and do it. So we figured we'd do it at the district level. And we have lots of resources built out to support students through the process, and we're very excited. Are there any questions from you all?
Questions or anything? Yes, Mr. Vaught.
You have blown my mind, so I've got to run with this just a second. Is there a national accreditation program or something like this? Will this help these students be able to apply for certain scholarships or internships during the summer or something like that later on?
That's a great question. There's no national accreditation in arts, but what we envision with this is that students will be preparing for further study or their career. So fine arts is a pathway or an elective focus in
Right.
our high schools right now. But right now, a student might choose that as their elective focus because they really love band and they want to be in band for 4 years, and that's fine. But there are some students choosing this as an elective focus because they plan to go on. We want to support those students in their future goals. So we're envisioning students preparing a college audition, a college level study. We're envisioning students writing and performing their own songs. And we developed the criteria you see today with some industry partners. We had folks from the CMA Foundation, folks from the Center for the Arts, folks from MTSU and higher education institutions coming in and saying, this is what we want to see from students. And what we hope to see moving forward is that we start matching students with industry partners that can help and support them through this program. So we envision that becoming more and more of a focus as we move through the process.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is amazing. I would have been all over this in high school. Yes, Ms. Sharp.
Thank you for this. I've long said we can do arts and athletics, and we do both well. We just have to build that foundation for the arts, and this is a great step. Thank you so much for your work on this.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, and thank you for always being innovative. We appreciate it.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have legal.
So we have transfer student under discipline number 1. The board's been requested to admit a transfer student from another system under discipline. The student was expelled for possession of a weapon other than a firearm. According to policy 6.318, the board may deny admissions of any student except those in state custody when a student transfers from another school system under suspension or expulsion. Director of Schools' recommendation is to deny admission. And of course, you all have a folder in front of you.
Okay. Number 9.
All right, next, I'm going to, just so if everybody can write it, because I've got a list for you that I don't think it's on here, so I'm going to read to you. The first that was requested was a list of bus drivers who have successfully transitioned from Ursa Major Logistics by securing private insurance and bus lease under a new company or bus ownership. And I believe we have 7, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So these bus numbers are 160, and so they're not on here, right? Yeah.
That is correct.
Yep, so I'm going to read these to you, and I'll email them too. So it's bus 160, bus 84, 237, 244, 211, 129, and 320. So again, 160, 84, 237, 244, 211, 129, and 320. So that'll be the first recommendation to reestablish those. Anything else you want to add to those? They're being verified, or have they already been verified?
We have, yes, sir.
Any other questions on that part?
Okay.
All right, then the second part, and I'll give you an update to this. So this is a hybrid model, so transportation bus purchase request. Transportation Department's requesting to begin the purchase of buses to supplement the transportation system. These buses will be utilized to replace unfilled contracts and provide coverage for added transportation needs. So we have a couple steps here. First, it was great today. We started at 10 o'clock, and so we had, how many routes do we have open? 30? 41? Okay. And so we drew a ton, and we, as of right now, have 5 open routes that we'll have an all-call for. Sorry, go ahead, Trey. You know, still
Yes, sir. The drivers that selected routes will, they have 24 hours to provide a bus with a VIN, their insurance, and their driver. If they cannot, at that point, then that route would revert back to us. After the 24 hours tomorrow night, we will send out an email to all contractors. It's called All Call. Whether you were on the list that wanted to take a route or you were not on the list, everyone is allowed that is qualified to get back in the game with All Call. They will be asked to provide the bus, the number that they are interested in. Once we receive that information on Thursday, we will, on Friday, take all the contractors that listed, and I'm just going to pick a number because it's on here, 114. If there's 10 contractors that want 114, they will be put into our random selection computer program, and then a person will be randomly selected, and they will get that route. Then we'll move to the next one. So right now, we have 5. it would not surprise me if we have a route turned back in tomorrow. They thought they had everything secured, they're not able to pull it together, and they basically have to give us the route back. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get one or two of those. If that's the case, then they'll be offered up at all call, just like all the rest.
And so just to kind of follow up, what our first steps are going to be, see how many open routes that we have for Thursday. So this is going to be a multiple kind of weeks request. So see how many open routes we have. We have contacted our 2 vendors to see what type of bus availability they have. So we have used and new bus availability. Then we would have to look at funding. One of the things that I know we talked about last year, just to ease concerns, we would park them, and I would imagine between 5 and 10. My first thought would be special education. Those are usually our hardest to fill, and we really struggle to put aides, special education aides on our buses. I think it'd be easier for us if it was a special education bus and it was a bus aide. They could also then be a special education EA, and we could fill that same position in one. And if it's a Rutherford County employee, I think that would be easier. Those are the ones that we're really struggling the most, so that would be my first priority. We would start, if this was the direction the board wanted to go, with part-time and keep driver pay, talk to a couple contractors, because I don't want to be in competition with our contractors, keep the pay somewhere in the middle after talking to a couple of them. But again, SPED would be my, special education buses would be my preference, because those are where the priority and where we really struggle to fill.
I was going to bring this up at our retreat, but this kind of gave us an opening because of what happened. I would like to eventually see us take SPED, just take over it. I think our families would appreciate it. I know our teachers, I've asked a couple teacher friends of mine, we're obligated, federally mandated to take care of these kids. And I really feel like going forward, it's not going to be something we could adopt overnight, but a few here, a few there, and I would like to see us eventually just take over SPED, because I really feel like that's something that we can do. And like Dr. Sullivan said, we can get the bus aides, they can work for us. I think it could be mutually beneficial. Yes, Butch?
You know, I agree with that, Claire, that especially, it takes a special person to do that. And these kids are special kids, and they really need special help. And if we could work out a way to get these people, whether we can let them come in and be EA part of the day or whatever and get benefits, if we can hire them, put them on our payroll, I think that would benefit all of us, because I can tell you from experience, those are the buses that those kids need the most care. And these people that bring them to school and the aides on the buses are just special people,
Yes, they are.
and I admire them, so.
Mr. Tidwell, I'll get right with you, Ms. Rosales.
Yes, so we have, right now, out of these 41 routes, we only have 5 open currently.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you're expecting that to increase tomorrow because people, yes, think they're going to get it
They've
together.
known for a week. They were, sent numerous emails. If you're interested, part of the deal was you had to provide us with that you can provide a bus and a driver and the insurance. Tomorrow's the deadline to put up.
Yeah. But you're not expecting that to be a high number, right?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay, that's good. Dr. Sullivan, how many buses do we have? Do we have any buses covering alternative schools or magnet routes?
You would have, special education would be a kid-by-kid basis. If it's in their IEP, then that'd be the only way a special education bus would go to an alternative school. For Magnet, there are 3 shuttle buses from the north end, because Central is the only, from my understanding, it was established a while ago, and Trey can correct me if I'm wrong, it's the only Magnet high school that we have, so there are 3 shuttle buses. Those are not operational, or are they operational again? They are not, but I believe those routes got picked up today, at least 2 of them.
2 of them got picked up, yes.
All right. I'm just making sure we're being efficient with what we need to do, have to do, before we go to make decisions to go buy buses. But I'm not totally against this. I would just rather see our contractors bailed us out last week. That's just the truth of the matter. So I would rather them have first opportunity. I'm not super excited to see this particular item out so early, hoping that maybe this is something that we could look at a little bit later this month as we can see what we have need of. I mean, I think one of the concerns was early on is there are routes that people don't really want. They're not sought after routes. After the all call goes out, we're still not going to have a few routes to get picked up. I think that is where we start looking at the hybrid model and deciding whether or not we want to move forward with that. I would like to see our contractors who have serviced us for so many years have first opportunity here. But if this were to move forward, how many, I know you said sped buses. How many buses are you talking about, thinking about? What's the number that we're looking at here?
I would think between 5 and 10, maybe, just depending on how many open routes are there. We're a little bit too early to see how many Poplar Hill Middle's going to need, because that's going to be a need next year and what that rezoning looks like. We do have one special education bus, so that is not unheard of. We do own one bus, so that is not just going out to be rogue. I do like having that option of having a few, because it would have been able to help. One of the things that, of course, whatever the board decides, this is on here early because I wanted to show to our community and to our public. That was one of the things that we kept getting, is how come there isn't any movement on the board looking and the director looking to buy buses. So this is one of those things to supplement, and that's not a direction. I would much rather our contractors have it too, but I do think would be my recommendation. We at least look down that to have a few.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, again, I would rather us have a little bit more opportunity. I mean, we did the picker wheel, yesterday? Or today?
Today.
Today. Did the picker wheel today. We're going to have some come back. We're going to send about an all call. We're supposed to vote on this on Thursday. I don't know. I just wish we had a little bit more time to make sure that these aren't being filled. If they're not being filled and it's constant, then I don't think there's another option out there, and I'm not against a hybrid model. I'd just rather see first opportunity to those that were helping us out.
Ms. Rosales and then Mr. Vaughn.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, how many contractors put the bid to bid? How many people put their names in the hat to?
If you'll give me a minute, I'll count them up.
Okay, that'd be great to know. If we were to hypothetically buy these buses, you said you were thinking about 5 to 10 buses. Were these buses, in the event that something would happen with the buses, with the contractor, are they able to use that bus? Like, let's say their bus breaks down, or let's say that they've gotten to a situation where they need a spare bus, and they're not able to find a spare bus, and they're having to shuffle through whatever. Are they able to use do they have access to these buses for these emergencies?
Those are things we're going to have to work through, because then you wouldn't be paying that contractor for the bus, because they'd be using our bus and not our insurance. So those are different contracts we have to put in place if they utilize a Rutherford County bus. At the same point, depending on how many routes are open, we could be using those buses.
And we're putting this now because it takes a while for us to buy the buses?
At least with the funding. I know that we've got some small funding options. I know I don't want to necessarily use Fund 177, but a bus can be considered capital projects. In talking, it's going to require talking with finance director, the county, our county commissioners, of course, the board, on where that funding needs to come from. Roughly your special education buses, and I'm just looking at the quote we got today, they're on state Sourcewell contracts. So the brand new ones are $137,000 a piece of what they're quoted. And then the new ones that I have, the new 90 passenger Mid-South bus, are $185,000. And I don't know, this is just the part I have to go through and really read the specs and everything. So that's just the kind of the overview, and they do have used ones right now as well. But when you're looking at the warranties and all that, those are things that we'd have to weigh. I'd have to get with our purchasing agent and also purchasing at the courthouse to make sure all those rules are followed, because buying used, you can get under Kelly Blue Book and you don't have to get bids. So there's all kinds of things we would need Michael's help with as well.
Okay. Did we do you have those numbers for
59.
59. Thank you.
Mr. Vaughn? You wanted to
Yeah.
say something?
I'd really like for us to look to buying, I think we need to take over, I'm like Ms. Maxwell, I think I'd feel a lot better if we took over the special ed buses, simply because we're under mandates. And IEPs get these kids to school, whether they have a board, you know, I think we wouldn't have to worry about not being able to approve it like the situation we were in the other day. And I think we bought 9 of them, and I think you said we had a spare. That'd give us 9 of these buses now. I don't think we'd have to buy new ones. I think that the local bus company may have some come back on the repossessions. And if that happens, then all we'd have to pay off is just what is owed on them. So it could be a good possibility that we can get them for a reasonable price. And I just think that's a route we really need to look at going, just protect ourselves, because we got an obligation to get these kids. We don't have any choice. We've got to get them to school, so.
Any other? Yes, Dr. Sullivan.
The bus prices we've been getting are pretty close to what was at least owed on them, so there's not like a foreclosure price or anything like that. So that's why if a bus was a used bus that's 2 years old at $120,000, to get a 3-year warranty at $137,000, I would probably look towards the $137,000 just because you get a 3-year warranty with maintenance included. I would recommend at least, I know we're looking at special education, it would be beneficial for us to at least have 1 or 2 big buses, just so that in the event of emergency, we at least had 1 or 2 to at least have.
These, Mr. Lee, these big buses, the routes are these routes that are not covered, I mean, are they being covered now, every day?
Yes, sir, they are. Every route that we gave out today is being covered currently by multiple contractors to get our students to school.
Hats off to the contractors for doing that.
So, Ms. Maxwell?
Yes, Ms.
I have one more
Rosales.
question. What is your if we were to move forward with buying buses, what is your recommendation for what we need?
Let me see how many we still have open on Thursday.
Okay.
Originally, I didn't anticipate this many being picked up this quick. I'm curious of how many are still that come back, so this makes me feel good. I was originally thinking 10. I'd maybe think 8 at this point. So
Okay.
more of, but we already have 1 of those. So that'd probably be 7, 2 general ed and the rest special education.
So it'll be 2 general ed and the rest will be sped?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Tidwell.
A little bit, same topic, but different direction. County insurance.
Yep.
Do we have an update on that?
I know it was included. I met with them about just insurance in general on Friday. I haven't heard whether or not those came back. I know nothing came back this year, so we'll see. I don't know when their bids come back. I know their bids for health insurance go out in March, so I'll get a date on when their new ones come back.
Okay, so no final word just yet.
No, I don't believe this situation helped us in any way.
Mr. Vaughn.
Yeah, didn't the state flip that we could put these people on the county insurance if we employed them?
I think it depends on who you talk to. I know that who you talk to, I know that TOS and TSBA, different attorneys think different things. I know this county has put it on their bids, but I know there's some reluctance as well to put that liability back on the county. If it does come back on the county, I do know that they will request some additional money to go fund the liability portion of it, which I don't have a preference because there's a pro and a con to both of it.
I understand too, there's a piece of legislation in the legislature in Nashville that is going to mandate that we provide bus service for any kid that's over 1.5 miles away. So it's not by choice now, it'd be by mandate. So that puts a new monkey wrench in it because now we got to provide it. It's not a choice.
Yes, Dr. Sullivan.
We are still doing that. The difference, there's an amendment to that. Text back and forth with one of our representatives today that they, originally it was all schools, now it's assigned schools, so that will not include alternative schools or choice schools, because that is the director's concern, is that if it's an alternative school, choice school, then it would include everybody. And right now, it's your zoned school, or I can't remember the word, assigned school, I think is the way it's worded, is your assigned school.
Okay. Yes, Ms.
Madam
Darby.
Chair. Dr. Sullivan, do you have a range or idea on what you're thinking of salary-wise for the drivers if we were to buy buses?
I know we did last year. Let me pull it up. Dr. Martin, I know you've got that. You're the one that created that last year. It would probably have to be adjusted to current market, but last year we did.
And also, are you anticipating hiring like a part-time or full-time maintenance type person to service the buses? Or
Depends on how many we bought, or we could also contract that portion out. I know some other districts contract the repair portion and inspection portion out too. So it just depends. Like if we only bought 1 or 2, I don't think we need to implement that. But if we bought 8, we'd probably need to do something like that.
Yeah, we got enough shade tree mechanics around here that we can work on these buses. How much money we have in account 177?
Trey is begging
Can't
us
use
not
it.
to use it because that's what we use for our HVAC repairs. That's why I would much rather not use that.
We're not allowed to buy equipment out of 177, and a bus would be considered equipment.
Mr. Vaughn.
I'm going to follow up with 3 or 4 comments here. I came today and watched it. Hats off to transportation. The ladies up here, they ran it as efficient as they could. A lot of, it was, I don't know, it reminded me of some of my Saturday morning auctions. You know, there was a lot of anticipation in the air. Who was going to be the first to pick? And what the funny thing about the whole morning was the very first guy that got picked, he wasn't here. Almost everybody else was here, but he wasn't here. And then he turned it down. He didn't even want a route, so he was on the list. But it was very interesting to work through it. The ladies worked through it very fast, very efficient. The contractors that weren't here, I think everybody kind of knew what was going on. So I left at 12, I think, and they were about half done. I was a little surprised. I'm like you that this many of them got picked up. To kind of follow back up a little bit on talking about buying, I think, see where we end up, maybe it's something we talk about, reiterate again, because I know my phone is going to ring off the hook tonight, that when everybody, these contractors, 185 contractors freak out, y'all are going to put us out of business, y'all are going to put us out of business. I had 3 phone calls walking in just this afternoon because the word had gotten out. So, preface that again, Dr. Sullivan, only maybe 10.
Correct,
And it will
yes.
probably related, 80% of it would be sped related, and it's to those contracts that have been a little bit hard to fill. A couple of things too, and I don't know if I'll say anything about this, but I've also, I think there's 3 or 4 policies that we need to kind of get in place between now and the end of the year that doesn't put us back in this same shape. And for the rest of my fellow board members, to let you know where my brain has been the last 10 days, is like the one, instead of just showing us you've got an insurance policy, show us you've paid for the insurance policy for the whole year. If we're going to advance you $4,000 stipend, don't use that to operate off of. If it's not enough to cover it, go ahead and put your money with it. But that way we're not, transportation would have to, it'd be a nightmare over there for y'all to check insurance statements and cards every month. I guess I'm looking at you to comment, but that's just kind of nuts. I think that's a simple policy that would ensure that all the insurance is paid for a year. So there's 2 or 3 things I'm going to kick around with y'all over the next 2 or 3 weeks, Dr. Sullivan and Trey. Not that I'm trying to be a know-it-all. I don't mean that, but I have gotten in knee-deep with all of this in the last 6, 8 months between the contract and then watching this go down. That we've got some deficiencies, but we've got a dang good transportation department. And I told Trey this day, I'm going to tell all the rest of y'all this. There was some smart aleck Facebook that I saw comment. He said it was to the tune of, well, we needed to do something different. Hamilton County's budget was $15 million cheaper than ours. And y'all know how much I studied it last year. I think our budget's like $32 million. I said, hell, there ain't no way it's half what ours is. I know they have less students. So I pulled up their budget this weekend, looked at the number of students. This is a pat on everybody's back here. Looked at the number of students, looked at their hybrid model, what their cost per student was. It was $633 per student per year to run their transportation company, or their transportation department. Ours is $625. I compared it to another district east of us that has 4,500 students in their district, and they're facing changing contractors right now. They private bid it out every 3 years, and their cost per student was over $1,500 per student per year. So we're doing pretty good, and if we can, I would say this to all our contractors: don't want to kick anybody out of business, don't want to take it away from you, but if we can start into the SPED department and help with these aids and require aids, it's going to be easier for us to put an aid on a bus that we're running than somebody not. I don't want to wholesale take it over. You know, this would be a 10 to 15 year process, and something we may want to think about is somebody's got a SPED bus, they're having trouble with an aid, maybe let them turn it in at the end of the year and trade it for a big bus if they want to stay in the contracting business. Why do I always look at you? I don't know why. These are ideas that we really need to think through over the next, and I'm hoping we can talk about some of this at the retreat. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Mr. Vaughn, you had something else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wondered if, talk about the stipends, you know, if we paid the insurance company and we were, you know, they would show us on the insurance policy as co-owners of that, we'd be notified instead of depending on the drivers to notify us, if that's possible. Also, too, you know, I just think we really need to look at getting all these SPED buses. You know, I think we need to, the buses that, Mr. Lee, let me ask you, the people that have the buses on the special ed routes, and can we buy what's owed on that? I mean, I don't know who's the leasee and the leaseor and all.
Let me say this, and I don't want to interject into, we're under contract with all of these contractors for 3 more years.
Correct.
I think anything that the board decides to do, whether it's 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, is supplemental to fill in. It's to cover us in the event that we have onesie, twosies, threesies contractors that are, and the biggest conversation with the special education buses is there's not a lot of spare buses out there for these contractors to share, rent, lease, whatever term you want to use. So when we lose 1 or 2 of those, it's very difficult to fill. Those routes are very student-specific. They're one-offs. Their routes are it's different than being able to take a general education bus that has a route in neighborhoods and they've got friends that run routes in the other neighborhood next door. It's more flexible to be able to fill in and pick up those routes when a route is down. That's where I think we're looking at, Mr. Vaughn, long-term, 5 years, 10 years down the road, and it's a few buses a year and you do it by attrition. But currently, we're under contract for 3 years. Any contractor that maintains their bus and does a good job, they're not going anywhere for at least 3 years, unless they turn their route in. So I think anything the board's looking at right now is kind of supplemental, fill in, help out.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Darby.
Mr. Lee, do you know how many SPED routes we have in total currently?
I'll have that for you Thursday, because it does fluctuate, and I don't want to give you wrong information, but I can have it Thursday.
Okay, thank you. Did you get the salary number?
Yes, I do. And so we last year had it as an R107. So that goes from $22.78 to $34.16 for current employees. Comparable to others, so I just pulled up, so I don't know how accurate their information is. Like the city, part-time's 24 across the board, city schools, their full-time's 2150 to 2755. Williamson's 2412 to 3315. Clarksville, Montgomery is 2192. So kind of right there in the middle, but I also want to make sure we're fair to our contractors, so I want to see where that kind of ranks with some of them that'll tell us.
Yeah, I think it warrants definitely some more thought in getting all of those figures together and all that kind of, I mean, our contractors have done a really great job, and I did speak with TSBA today just to kind of, we hear a lot of things about different districts having trouble finding drivers, other districts who've contracted with people, and those companies, when their drivers call out, don't have backups, and so I don't know that there is a transportation system that doesn't have its issues, and I would say by and large, ours has functioned extremely well. So I will say while I don't have an issue with having some spare, especially on the sped side, because we're definitely, at least at the moment, required for those, and possibly more later, depending on what the laws end up doing, but I definitely want to make sure we're not putting the message out there that this is, I know my intention is not to overhaul and replace this transportation department in that manner, because it's been working really well, and those contractors, a lot of them, it's been a generational thing. They come together and cover for each other when people have issues, and it's hard to find that kind of thing today, so.
100% agree. Yep.
Ms. Sharp?
This R107, is that based on like 2,000 hours of that full-time work?
Probably 1780 is usually the way we do. I know that's crazy, but that's usually the number Brian and I use for like a office assistant, 1780 or 1760. And that's the same hours as a or the same R107 as a transportation router, maintenance level 3, account clerk, payroll clerk, purchasing tech. So it's kind of right there.
And they have benefits?
If it was part-time, no. Full-time, yes, because that's when I know our drivers with our contractors, most of them don't. So I would recommend we start off part-time, because then we would really be in competition with some of our coordinators, our contractors, if we went full-time.
Ms. Darby?
Just some out-of-the-box thinking, and I don't even know if it would be possible, but it might be worth just looking at to see what it looks like, maybe doing a daily rate versus an hourly, because I know, especially, do a lot of the sped routes have to do like a midday?
The vast majority of them are running additional routes during the middle of the day.
So,
There
I
are
mean,
a few that don't, but the vast majority do.
even at a part-time, it would be hard for that person to probably find any other additional
yeah.
income if they needed to. So it might be worth just seeing what that would look like if it was just a flat daily rate.
Yeah, a lot of what I've talked to the other directors, a lot of them take their special education drivers and use them as a special ed EA3 or something throughout the rest of the day so that they're able to be there. So agree completely.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Vaught, did you have anything you wanted to add or anything? Okay. Then we're just going to move on then. Next 10, engineering and construction.
Whitworth Buchanan Middle softball request. Principal Chris Butner is requesting to add gravel paths and spectator seating areas around the girls' softball field. The cost of this request is $1,000 and will be funded to the softball account and is at no cost to the board. Engineering and construction has reviewed the request and has no objections.
Any questions or comments? Next.
Klein Sweeney Transition Academy fee proposal. Klein Sweeney Associates has submitted a proposal to design the Transition Academy facility based on the proposal dated January 1st, 2026. This proposal is for an estimated construction budget of $350,000. The fee proposal is $30,000 for the first building and $15,000 for the second. Engineering and construction has reviewed the request and has no objections. Again, any construction costs or any actually starting the project, any of that would come back before the board. This is just a design.
And do we have a location?
It would be what the board previously approved at Smyrna Middle and
Smyrna Middle and
Whitworth,
Whitworth?
correct.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions or comments? Next.
Central Magnet Baseball Field upgrade request. Dr. John Ash is requesting to improve the baseball field at Las Casas Elementary to include concrete new dugouts and a turf infield. Warren Construction has provided quotes that include dugouts at $39,885, backstop netting at $39,599, and infield turf at $374,555. Funding for this project is an unsecured loan by the Baseball Booster Club. Engineering Construction reviewed the request and has no objection, with no spoils, dirt, rock, etc., being left on site, and any damage to the existing paved area will be repaired at the school's expense. One of the things I talked to Dr. Ash about was to make sure, since that is a unique thing, is that we make sure we incorporate Las Casas, whether that is in the turf, what is visible, whether it's in front of the dugout or in the outfield, just depending on when they actually start moving on that, is to incorporate Las Casas somehow, whether it's the L or the Panthers, some way into the field turf, since it is kind of a shared, but a space.
be nice.
Yeah, just to pay homage to the history.
That's going to be really good. That's
Very
a
nice.
great community thing.
Mr. Tidwell?
Yes, Dr. Sullivan, in this type of scenario, can you explain, I'm sure we're going to get a lot of questions about this, about how booster clubs work, and especially with these amounts here. Talked to the president of the booster club, and they have a plan, and they have funds, and they have agreements, and they've worked out some deals. They've done a really good job. Actually, the total amount that we're seeing here today, I think it's going to be significantly less, and if you include some of their in-kind donations and such. But for those wondering how this funnels through the school system, who's going to be left on this loan if something were to go south, what that looks like for the school
Yeah,
system.
it's not on the school system whatsoever. It's all on the booster club and those people who are listed on the booster club. So it's a heck of a risk on those individuals. So that's why it's so important that they have real financial backing. So we appreciate their support in doing that, especially because they are putting their name out there. And the second that it's put on school property, it's property of Rutherford County Schools. So they are really putting a lot of investment into something that is for the school system and for our students. So they are responsible for getting the loans, getting the security of the loans, and there's no risk to the school system.
And I will tell you, for most of your major projects at the schools, this is how it's done. The field house at Riverdale, the field house at Rockville's trying to get one. That's how it's done. You have small donations, but you have people that are willing to have some skin in the game, and they put their name on the dotted line. And so if something goes wrong, it's on them, but it's not on the school.
That's right. And hats off to Ms. Gamble for all the work that's been done here. I think it's quite amazing what's going on. So.
Ms. Maxwell?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Ms. Rosales.
Yeah, so I think this is a good thing that the parents and the Booster Club are getting together to do something. Someone's saying, getting the skin in the game, and there's a proof that we've got skin in the game, and trying to do something that's good. So commending the Booster Club for doing something good for the students. I have a few questions. I had a question from someone in the Las Casas community in wanting to understand what was the $150,000 that was set out to do some fixes for using this field. And I think that also was to be used for that other field in Kittrell, or was it 150 just for the one in Las Casas?
Just Las Casas. Each one had a different amount. 150 doesn't go very far when you have to put lights on the field. And so it was lights. They did quite a bit of work, even though it wouldn't look like it. A lot of work had to go into grading, even though it still had some grading issues. All of the fields still did, because Warner, it just cost a lot to laser grade those fields. They were trying to get grass to grow on the infield this winter, and that's why they had to go ahead and move forward with kind of looking at turf instead. But I know that the softball team has less, just to kind of put it to example, softball has less square footage they have to cover because it's a shorter field. So they were able to go ahead and start taking care of some of their dugouts to where the baseball money doesn't go as far because it's a lot more field to laser grade. We also had to put up nets at Las Casas, and the fence had to be a little bit higher and a little bit different because of the school in the background, and to make it so that even though we want a home run launch park, we didn't want one that was so easy they were knocking out the windows of Las Casas Elementary School. So
It used to be the fun, not the window.
it would be fun. It'd be
Well,
price of admission. Yep.
Well, thank you for that report and that rundown of things that was covered for the $150,000. I'm hoping they're hearing and got to hear everything that you just said. And I also spoke to a few community members in Las Casas just out of respect and courtesy. And they're really happy and pleased that the Boosters Club is providing something really nice for the field. So they're really happy about that. So,
It's going to be very nice. Yes, Mr. Bond.
The people carrying the unsecured loan, they're pretty, they got pretty deep pockets. So I think the last name's Vault, I believe.
yours? Your pockets?
No, I wish. But I understand, yeah, the people that got the loan is pretty reliable. So it's a great thing.
It is. Yes,
And
Dr. Sullivan.
even though it breaks my wife and I's heart, just for the record, my kid doesn't play baseball anymore at Central, so I disclosed that last year, but he gave it up. I hope he goes back to it in high school, but
I'm so
he
sorry.
gave it up, so. Teenagers, yeah, so.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments regarding the baseball field? Okay, let's move on, please. Number 4.
Blackman Middle Storage Barn request. Dr. Jessica Jackson's requesting purchase of a 15 by 28 storage shed to be used as part of the STEM program. Shed cost is $12,605 and will be funded by the CTE ISM grant. Engineering Construction reviewed the request and has no objections.
Any questions or comments? Okay, next we have the resolution.
So this is a resolution brought by Mr. Tidwell, and I greatly appreciate this. This is a resolution in support of fully funding our high-performance local education LEA bonuses. So as the board and most of our community, we haven't made as big of a deal about this year, but we will. Rutherford County received it's called a high-performance bonus. It's a $4 million bonus. We were one of 2 school systems last year to earn it, us and Williamson. I don't know how many districts earned it this year. But I do know that last year we received the full $4 million. This year we earned the full $4 million, but that entire amount of money wasn't budgeted. And so it was prorated pretty heavily at about a 40% rate. And so we only received a little bit close to $2.5 million. And so that's where this resolution came from. So I appreciate that, Mr. Tidwell.
Yeah, Mr. Tidwell is working on this good debt. He's proposed the board for approved tonight. So this is the resolution in support of full funding for high-performance local education agency bonuses. Whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education is the local government body responsible for providing a high-quality public education to the students and families of Rutherford County. And whereas the Tennessee General Assembly and the Governor's Office have established merit-based incentives to recognize and reward school districts that demonstrate strong academic performance. And whereas one such incentive is the high-performing local education agency bonus, which provides financial rewards to school districts in which at least 50% of schools earn an A letter grade. And whereas for the 2025-26 school year, the state of Tennessee appropriated a recurring total of $17 million statewide for high-performing LEA bonuses. And whereas the established funding tiers generated $28 million in earned high-performing LEA bonuses for qualifying districts statewide. And whereas because the statewide appropriation was insufficient to fully fund award bonuses, bonuses were prorated and Rutherford County Schools received $2,428,571.43, which is well below the amount earned. And whereas proration weakens the purpose of a merit-based incentive by reducing the full benefit earned by high-performing districts and diminishing the link between strong results and meaningful financial reward. And whereas merit-based incentives encourage excellence, recognize the work of students and educators, and provide districts with flexible resources to reinvest in successful academic strategies. And whereas the governor has proposed an additional one-time appropriation to fully fund the high-performing LEA bonus for the 2025-26 fiscal year so that qualifying districts receive the full amounts generated by the funding tiers. And whereas fully funding this program aligns with the intent of the General Assembly and reinforces Tennessee's commitment to accountability and performance in public education. And whereas the high-performing LEA bonus is a recurring merit-based incentive intended to provide predictable and reliable financial recognition for sustained academic excellence, and recurring full funding is necessary to ensure that qualifying districts can reasonably plan for and reinvest these earned resources. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Rutherford County Board of Education expresses its appreciation to the Tennessee General Assembly and the Governor's Office for establishing merit-based appropriations for high-performing school districts, supports the Governor's proposal to fully fund the high-performing LEA bonus for the 2025-26 fiscal year, and respectfully urges that this program be fully funded in future years so that districts receive the full benefit of the incentive earned through strong academic performance. So that is the resolution that will be presented on Thursday night.
Thank you, Mr. Tidwell. This is an excellent resolution.
Well, I'd just like to thank some of our legislators for going to bat as well as some of those in the governor's office. It does have a lot of legs. It does look like it's going to get passed and appropriated this year. We'll see what happens in following years as they like to do their appropriations after they see what the final results are. But it does look very promising this year for that $1.6 million. So,
Thank you. Yes, Dr.
I
Sullivan.
think something that'd be good for our board to just kind of really, if you can help champion behind it, is we talked to the State Board of Education about this last Thursday, I guess, when we presented that it's great that these things come to us, but when they come to us, just like fast growth last year, our final TISA amount, when these come to us after July 1st, they roll into our fund balance, and you all know that we sometimes have a hard time utilizing our fund balance. And so we talked about the state board, how high our fund balance was, and that being an accounting principle, and really tried to talk about when it comes after June 30th, it's tough for school districts to be able to utilize some of that funding that was earned rightfully. And so really just encourage all of us to kind of talk around some of those things.
Yes, Mr. Rosales.
So, just what you shared, but that is about the whole getting the funding in July 1st, and then because at that point it rolls into fund balance.
Yes.
So what will be the proposed change that you think we should do? Is it that if the state decides to fund something for that particular academic year, but it happens to be funded after the year's over, then is the solution and the recommendation is for whenever the timestamp or whatever is that if it's meant for the year prior, that those funds don't go into fund balance, but can be held and be used for the upcoming budget.
That would be great. Or even if it's just an accounting code with the comptroller's office so that those funds can be used and counted as revenue for that coming year, because that would help us. I'm thinking of this, if this comes to us July 1st, and instead of rolling into fund balance, we could use this 1.6 million to try to offset some of the insurance cost. If it runs into fund balance, I don't think I'm gonna get a whole lot of support and say, hey, I would like to use $1.6 million to offset insurance cost, because I anticipate the argument saying, well, we're not being able to do that for the county. Well, this should have been part of our budget last year, but it never came to us out of any of our problem. And last year, we received over $7 million that came this way. We're not gonna get that much this year, but $7 million can do a lot during a budget cycle.
So you're proposing that these funds that are coming for after the fiscal year, the end of fiscal year, June 30, comes in July 1st, that we're supposed to go for that budget season to be looked at, considered as revenue for the upcoming
Yeah.
school year.
That'd be one way to do it, yep.
Okay.
Yep. And again, that may be a comptroller
Sure.
argument. I'm not an
That's what I had to
accountant, but
figure out,
yeah.
but I just wanted to hear what the recommendation will be, because they will be asking us, well, what is the recommendation? How would we like to see it fixed, so.
Ms. Sharp, and then Mr. Tidwell, please. Oh, was he? Okay, sorry.
Just a quick question. So on that same line, is it funding that comes in after July 1st? So if it had just beat the date,
After
it
June
would be
30th. Yeah.
June 30th.
After June 30th, and I don't know how they would do it because they're funding this in next fiscal year. So I don't know how they would have to work.
It'd have to be coded differently.
It'd
That's
have to
only
be
way
the
it would.
coding.
It's not necessarily the date. It'd have to be coded differently because the money's not coming no matter what. It has to be approved by General Assembly this year in order to go into next year. All right.
Ms. Sharp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Tidwell, this is a great resolution, and if you don't get any legs on this, I would brush it up and send it back through TSBA's Delegate Assembly and see if they'll pick it up for the next year's lobbying effort.
Excellent idea.
Yes.
Yes.
And you guys have heard me, and I've tried to champion this with my superintendent group, my only, and this is not connected to this legislation, my biggest concern is next year, there's not going to be as many districts that receive this. We talked about this in September. The state accountability model is just changing which data they're using. So instead of using growth level, they're going to be, goodness gracious, I've gone blank. Looking at you, Dr. Chastain. Instead of using growth level, what are we moving to? Away from index, TVOS. Away from TVOS, we could do level 4 and 5 instead of growth model. Now what are we using?
Ms. Maxwell?
Yes.
I think you're talking about the bell curve, how they're trying to move
Yes.
everybody back
TVOS
toward.
level 4, we're using growth index, and now we're using, and I've gone completely blank on what they're going to be using.
Are you talking about with the difference between the standard error and the
Yes, and what-
deviation?
Yeah, but what's
Just
that?
including the 4s and 5s.
Yes, and what's the other thing they're using as the differentiator between that? And I've gone blank on what that terminology is, but I'm going to pull it up in TVOS real quick.
Standard
While
error?
everybody's, yeah, I'm going to pull it up in TVOS while we keep talking. Keep going. I can multitask.
Okay. We will not have as many 5s.
We will not have as many 5s, which is all districts are not going to have as many 5s, which is going to limit your ability to earn A's, which is going to limit your pool of districts that can earn this. And so that is coming straight from the State Department's slide that they send to everybody. So that hurts. Yeah. Yeah, it moves.
Dr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Since we're in a work session, it kind of started opening up the TVOS new scoring. So, so the academic growth, that is also where our ESL, if you're ESL tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, that's where they really are counted more weighted because they're not in the academic side. So if they're not accounting for the growth, how are they accounting for those that are in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3?
A little bit different. So without going too far down, with ESL students, it's an ELPA assessment, and they have a different growth measure for just that ELPA assessment to measure what their growth is. So for us, now let me go back to TVOS. So TVOS is still going to give you an effect size, which for us, that's where we were the #1 in the state this year, our effectiveness level. Everybody's going to be level 4 or 5 like we would have been this year. Then to differentiate between that, they are then going to use something called the effect size instead. That's the words I couldn't use, the effect size, and that's going to break between 4s and 5s. And so they're going to break you between a 4 and a 5 based on your effect size instead of just using your growth measure instead.
And how do they find effect size?
We've asked for it for this year and still haven't received.
We don't know what that means? No.
Without getting, you want to go into the nerdy termination of standard deviation?
I mean,
divided by-
they did slide some of the determination stuff into our accountability documentation over Christmas break. So we do have some information on that. But essentially it is just trying to not, in the past, the more students you had, the more confidence they had in that true effect size. So we got some benefit in that, and that we were confidently more effective. They are trying to give some sort of, they're trying to remove that benefit and give some of that benefit back to smaller districts, which is mathematically a little more squishy in our opinion. So it removes that confidence level for larger districts and larger numbers, which is mathematically appropriate, and shifts it back to smaller schools and smaller districts can receive a higher number with less of a effect determination just in terms of the math.
It's good old State Department.
Yeah. So we would go
You get things good and they mess it up.
Yeah. Just for reference, we would have gone from 30 level 5 schools last year to 12. And so they would have been 4s. We would have had 18 4s, but they wouldn't have been 5s. And so that's a huge impact. So instead of the 4 million, we may earn the 2 million next year because it would have been cut in half.
But they only put back 50,000.
Yes. Yep. So.
And just to reiterate, our students will have scored exactly the same.
Correct.
So our teachers are still doing the job they were doing before. Our students are still performing at the same exact level. Our schools are still performing at the same level. It's just a slight change in the math shifts it from one district or school to another. So I just want to reiterate, like, the work continues. Our focus is teaching students, teaching the standards. It's just a change in calculation, which is frustrating.
Very frustrating.
It's a shame because the recognition's not going to be there, and that's what's bad.
I fully expect us to kill it like we did this past year. Our schools are great, our teachers are great, and I'm afraid our families are going to say, oh my gosh, what happened? They really slipped. And we didn't slip. It's just the way you evaluate it has changed. So,
When I brought that up in September, I was told to start working on messaging. And I was like, that's not going to help.
You know, if you ever need a job, you can go apply for the State Department.
So, all right. I've
Okay.
added next section's insurance update. So this is pretty important, so I want to go over this. We, of course, are on state insurance. I fully anticipate we'll stay on state, but it is my job to look at all options. And so Dr. Martin and I did meet with the county Friday, and so we are going to do bids with the county to see, is it a better price if the county includes us? I don't anticipate that. I can't ever decide what a bid's going to be, but we would bring, I hate to say we're the better deal, but the educators, I guess our educator pool has a more marketable insurance group than the county employees do. So we would bring the county insurance down, and that's the way it was historically, just because of the age group of our employees. And so we would bring the county rates down. I still don't think it's going to be enough that would really make it advantageous for us to move, but I don't feel like I'd be doing my job for our employees if I didn't look. And so we are at least going to see what those bids come up with. There are issues if we go back to the county as far as retirement, people losing their retirement credit. We don't have a lot of power with the state, but we really don't have a lot of control when it comes to the county. You know, at the last, we had insurance committees. I think we at one time had 2 voting members, and then we got down to 1, even though we were the largest majority of the insurance people. So I'm hopeful that the bids come in good, but I'm not realistic that even if the state aggregate right now looks at like 12%, that's the state increase. That's a 1-year aggregate, and that is across, again, that's the aggregate, so not everybody. When you look at the county, even if the county were to come in 10%, I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to move for a 2% change, because historically the state, when they have a big increase, the next year it's a lower increase. Once you move from the state plan, you have to wait for 2 more years till you can come back. And so state, when you're looking at retirees have to have a certain amount of time that if they're looking to retire, once we remove from the state plan, they may risk losing their insurance when they retire to come back on the county, and vice versa. If we go back to the state, in 2 years, let's just say, they're going to have some more time before they can get back on state insurance. So we've only been there 3 years, going on 4. I probably would recommend that we stay with the state insurance just to see, but I do think it's beneficial. We're one of the 2 biggest insurance pools that the state has, and I don't think it's bad for them to know that we're looking to just see how competitive the rates are. The other thing to kind of look at that is that one change I do envision, and this wouldn't impact us much, our dental insurance with the state, they change vendors, is not great. And so we probably will look at doing vision and dental ourselves, self-insured. And so there are some benefits there that may be able to save our employees money and be able to offer better benefits as well. They changed to MetLife, I believe, and there have been some issues, but you all will see all of that information in the next couple months. But I just wanted you all to know that if you hear rumors like Dr. Sullivan's talked to the county insurance, I've talked to them just to see what would happen with pricing, but that is all up to the board to decide. There's a huge timeline with TCA and all kinds of decisions. 51% of your eligible employees, so 51% of your employees have to vote to even remove from the state in a timely manner. So there are all kinds of things that have to happen. I don't envision that even occurring this year, but I do think it's best for me to at least look to see what prices, bids look like. National average looks like it's going to be an 18% increase this year. So 12% aggregate, hopefully it'll drop a little bit the next year. And if it continues 12%, 12%, 12%, then I think we have a different discussion. It may be beneficial for us at that point, instead of joining the county, to maybe be self-insured ourselves. There are some county school systems that are big that are self-insured themselves. But that's a much later on discussion, but we're looking at all kinds of different options. So any questions about insurance? I know that was a lot.
I had someone reach out to me who was getting ready to retire.
Yep.
And when she came in, and she came with us, it was because everything was good.
Correct.
Then we went to the state, and apparently now her insurance is not what it needs to be, or she may be even losing it when she retires. And so I
To reach out to our benefits people.
yeah, so, because I didn't really know what to tell her, but I said I would inquire.
Yeah, she needs to reach out to our benefits people.
Okay.
You know, speaking from retirees, our insurance is great.
Yep.
We just want you to leave it alone.
Yeah,
And we don't want nobody to bother you.
yeah.
Mr. Bott?
Good question. Give me what is the employee total here? That's on the
number?
Yeah, the total number, and then what is it for the entire county?
We're at 6,600.
That's what I thought I remembered. What's the county employee?
I don't know.
It's about a third?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can look it up in the budget document, but I hadn't looked at it in about 6 months. I should.
Well, the reason I said that, if there's a cost, it could be a significant cost saving to the rest of the county employees that you could horse trade with the county commission a little bit to, if it saved them money to get more of the benefit back here. You know me in numbers. I'm running numbers in my head, so.
The county's been great to work with, to at least talk about. I just am looking long-term.
No, I think we owe it to everybody. Always got to look, you got to look at benefits, you got to look at cost savings, you got to look at all of it.
Any other questions? Okay. Moving along to financial update.
Yeah, we got our first TISA update, TNEDU funding. That's where Brian's here. Brian's just locked away in his office with the door closed budgeting. So that's where he is. I haven't seen him all day, but I know he's back there. So I'll have a TISA update on Thursday. You mind if I go ahead to director's update?
Go ahead.
A couple of things, director's update. I sit on the Southeast Superintendent Council for American Heart Association. So we had our quarterly meeting today, and that is a pretty big group. It's Marietta Superintendent, Mobile, Jackson, Miami, Fort Myers, Tuscaloosa, Wake County. So it's a big group. So I know that that's pretty important to several of you. Also, we're kind of lunching to see what we are looking forward to next year. So we're working on that impact. And then I emailed you all. This is a little bit different that we are thinking about, but we are very much a business. And so kind of looking at rate of return. And so we've dropped an enrollment a little bit. And when you drop an enrollment, it helps. I was fine if we were stagnant for a little while, but you don't want to drop an enrollment for too long because that's going to impact some things. And so we are in the middle of school choice season, and you will see all kinds of advertisements for school choice. And so looking at rate of return, I wanted us to get involved with that. And so we have been in some magazines in the past, but there's some other areas that we can do. So we have our first billboard that I know of that you will see, and we tried to target those areas that people were going to sit and look at all day long when they were sitting on I-24 going into morning traffic. And the way that I looked at it was they're about $3,000 or $4,000 a month, and so we're just doing it for a couple of months. It's under the $50,000 threshold, and so that allows us, if we were able to pick up or keep 4 or 5 students, then they more than have paid for themselves our entire marketing strategy. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at it from rate of return, is to see what happens with our enrollment. It's going to be hard to quantify that a billboard actually keep anybody. We talked about putting a QR code up there, but that's not going to be safe if somebody's driving down the road and scanning a QR code. So I got that idea nixed pretty quickly. But Mr. Evans, you want to come up and give us some ideas on this?
But asked us to put together a marketing plan. This is a paid marketing plan. What we traditionally rely on is an earned marketing plan, social media, grassroots things, those kinds of things. And so billboards are obviously a piece of that, and we have secured 2 along I-24. One is right as you're entering I-24 from Waldron Road headed toward Nashville. There's a digital board there. We're really excited about that. I'll talk about that in just another minute. And then we have a static board, which means it doesn't change, going back toward Murfreesboro. Just as you pass Sam Ridley going up that hill, you'll see it. It'll be up later this week. They're working on because they have to print that one and actually put it up there. And I'm going to show you what those look like in just a second. But the digital billboard has some really cool things that we can do with it. We can change that message throughout the day, different times of hour. And so For example, we have kindergarten registration coming up on April 15th. We plan on having one of the slides that comes up on there to say, hey, don't forget, kindergarten registration is April 15th. And what's so important about kindergarten registration is that that's the one grade that it's hard for us to predict how many kids we're going to get and where we need teachers, how many resources, all those kinds of things. So the more that we can get parents to register early, the more we can start, forming those classes and placing students, because we hate having to move kindergarten teachers around when parents think they already know what their child's going to do. So Miss Haley and I were on the radio this morning, and she's really pushing that. But we can also, in graduation season, which is just a couple of months away, each day that we have graduation, we can say, congratulations to Laverne High School, who are students who are graduating tonight, but don't forget that we have a 96 or 95, whatever our graduation rate, 97.2% graduation rate. We can have one of those unique to the graduation ceremonies happening that day and change it, just like we're changing a website. We're also doing additional...
Can we, on the day that we're out of school and another district to our north is not, can we put something up there?
Sure, we can say...
Teachers, we're closed.
Are you
You're not.
questioning your location?
Yeah,
Just
okay.
remember that we are out of school today in Rutherford County. We could also have Dr. Sullivan and I faking a snowball fight when we get close to snow season, just to remind people to sign up for that snow call. Yes. We got all kinds of ideas. But seriously, we are really excited about the messaging that we can do there. And as Dr. Sullivan said, the slogan that we are focusing on, and there's an example here, is the RCS difference, because our schools are the premier provider of K-12 education in this county, and we want to make sure that is people understand the distinction of that. We're also expanding our print advertising into, we're already doing Livability Magazine. That's the magazine that comes out annually that the Chamber of Commerce gives to all newcomers, new businesses, things like that when they're moving here, so they learn about us. We've been in there for several years. We're expanding to VIP Magazine too. They have an issue once a year that is education focused, but if you look at the magazine, you'll notice there are a lot of other schools that are outside of our district that are advertising in that, and so we will now be advertising in there as well. Broadcasting, WGNS has a huge following, especially in the mornings, but also during sports coverage. They are very affordable. We have secured some broadcast advertising with them, and also on their website. We've, like I said, they're one of the premier places right now for daily news coverage in this county is WGNS, and so they were excited to do that as well. And then we're also going to be pushing some social media advertising. Some of the posts that we're doing, we can actually target certain demographics, those families who have children who are school-aged in this zip code, to make sure they see all the things that we're doing as well, and we'll be paying for those as well. This is the billboard, though. If you'll scroll up a little bit more, Mr. Bargatze, please. The top here is the billboard that's the digital one. Barton Henley and on my team actually went out and took that this morning. It's very attractive. It stays up for 8 seconds, and then we get 8 seconds a minute, basically. But this is one of those prime areas, like Dr. Sullivan said, that traffic stops nearly every morning, and people are sitting there, and so hopefully they don't take their anger out on us, but might as well give them some great content to view while they're sitting there. But you'll see that we are pushing that RCS difference in that advertising. If you'll go up a little bit more. This second one is the what we sent for the billboard, for the static billboard, but it's not up yet. This is what the second billboard is. These are our students for one of our schools. We do have permission from the parents to use them for advertising, but you'll see there that we really want to start pushing what make sure people know the opportunities that we provide. And if you'll go down one more, this is an example of one of our other ads that shows some of our great metrics that we're using, the percentage of A's and B's schools that we have, the number of reward schools in level 5 that we have, and then our graduation rate of 97.2%. When I go to state conferences and we talk about these things with some of our other districts, we are the envy of so many in this state that wish that they had the kind of performance that we're having, and also just the resources we have to spread the word. So what questions do you have? It's a little bit different of a communications report this month, but what questions do you have?
We're the number one performing academic growth system in the state.
I mentioned that on the radio this morning just to make sure they knew that we can't, what Dr. Sullivan always says is that we can't do anything about students where they came from, what they learned then, but once they get here, we get to get to them and see what we can help them grow, and we are known for that, and we are the highest performing in the state that does that.
This looks great. Good job.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, and I will attest to, every time I go somewhere with TSBA and they see Rutherford County, I get peppered with questions. How'd you do this, and how'd you, from CTE to just our academic performance, we really are setting the standard.
Now you can say that's the RCS difference.
RCS
Just say
difference.
that.
There you go. That's it. Dr. Sullivan went and presented to the state legislature. Did you teach them how to move that pencil a little bit?
State Board of Education.
Did you teach them
I
how
had
to move
great-
the pencil?
I had a great time. I did.
And he slipped in this slogan.
I sure
didn't know he was
did.
gonna do it, But
I
the
did.
last slide, he put this in there last week.
Good.
Yeah, that's great, yeah.
I have a question. So on the print ads for the magazines, sometimes the advertisers give you, as part of the package, the editorial articles, is that something that we can look into to do an article? That we can
They
add
haven't given
into?
us a direct editorial article. I will tell you that Barton Henley on my team, as I mentioned, has been selected as a 40 under 40, and they have made his feature now a half page. He found that out today.
Really? Wow.
We've given him a hard time. But they also take submissions. VIP Magazine is real big about taking photo submissions. So, for example, next week's celebration we're doing for Teacher of the Year and retirement, we plan on sending them a write-up for that, and I think that we'll get consideration for that.
Okay, good.
Wonderful. Yes, Mr. Tidwell.
I know you mentioned that, or Dr. Sullivan mentioned that if we get two students a month, it pays for itself. Do we have any metrics to kind of, I know you mentioned the QR, or Dr. Sullivan mentioned the QR code. Is there any way that we can measure that? It'd just be something nice to take back and say, hey, this isn't just extra money that's being spent, but we're actually seeing the fruit of this growth.
Well, I mean, one way we'll measure that, of course, will be what our enrollment numbers do next year. You can't necessarily directly tie it to these paid ads, but that will be at least some indication. We also have things like the number of impressions, circulation, all those things, but it's really hard to tie that they saw this ad and so they enrolled their child. But we're going to be looking for ways to do that, but we don't have a clear way to do that yet.
Yeah, and I don't know much about this particular space, but I know that we do well or you do well in the social media space. Is there any funds that come through that? That don't generate money. It's just the amount of impressions, the amount of people that see it, the content. I know there's a lot of content creators out there, and we're competing. The RCS has a ton of followers, but there's no way to monetize that. And I don't even know if that's a line that could be crossed.
probably-
so-
And not as a
Probably could.
nonprofit, we can't.
Yeah.
Great idea, though.
Yeah.
James could definitely
I
make
would, if you guys will let me sell advertising for the website to support the communications department, we would love to do that. And academics, of course.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Ms. Sharp.
Thank you for this. This is great, and I think everybody already knows that this is the case here in Rutherford County. We better hurry up and build some more schools, because I think it's going to be very successful, and we're going to be back in the position before of being
Right.
overcrowded.
And like what Dr. Sullivan said, you would think that if we reduce enrollment, that we would save money, but the students don't leave necessarily in little packets of perfect 20 or 25. And so you may have, if you lose 20 kindergartners, it may be over several schools. And so all we're losing are resources. We're not able to replace or reduce by a teacher unless it happens in one location, and that's pretty rare. So we are in a position where we have to compete for resources, and that's what we're doing.
Any other questions?
Now, what I'm hearing is you guys are going to approve the communications budget for next year. Check, right?
I hadn't even approved the communications budget for next year. I didn't even look at it.
Okay, just thought I'd slide that in there. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Is that everything? Okay. General discussion. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up? Okay. First, Ms. Sharp.
Just wanted to do 3 shout-outs to Klein Sweeney, Old South, and TDK for sending in checks for Jazz Fest.
Excellent.
May 1st and 2nd. So
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Vaught.
Yeah, the other thing I forgot, all the bus routes are going, well, not all of them, but a lot of the bus routes are going to get redesigned or recalculated because of rezoning, right?
Yes, sir.
So see, there may be some efficiency gained with our route numbers and stuff like that. I left that out a while ago, that there's going to be some changes. I don't know how significant, but there's going to give us those opportunities to slide in and do some things maybe with sped buses. So that, I want to remind everybody about that. So next fall may be interesting.
Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Rosales.
Yes. I just wanted to say that I went and visited ACAR, I think a week ago. Yeah, a week ago. And I want to share with the board and everyone that's listening that they're working really, really hard. They've made some major improvements. Obviously, one of them was they changed the director and executive director and the principal over there. And since then, they're seeing some of those changes as a result of change in the leadership. And I told them that I was going to come back and share with the board that they're extremely committed and dedicated to doing things that is required of them, whether the state or by us, and that they're committed to that work. And they're not wanting to do things half-heartedly by any means, and that they're seeing that they've turned a new leaf and moving forward, and they really want to have a partnership between Rutherford County Schools and ACAR. And I believe that, Springs Empowerment will probably say the same, but right now I can just attest to what ACAR said because I visit them. And I hope that we can build that more of a partnership where there's a more open communication on both ends, and that they see, I know Jeff McCann does a great job and the team that's with him, but that they can feel that they have access to Rutherford County School staff as well. So that's what I want to share.
Mr. Tidwell.
Trey, I've got a question for you. The LED lighting, how's that going? I know we started with the athletics and we had this 4-year plan. How are things moving in that direction?
We've been very successful with TVA in our partnership with them. We've with the sports lighting, we're somewhere around $400,000 in energy credits that we've earned back. Or we will earn back over a period of a year. There's been a few, and I can't make heads or tails out of TVA's reasonings why this one they give us a check and the next one it's over 12 months on an energy bill credits. I've asked Middle Tennessee Electric, and Middle Tennessee Electric's been great at helping us achieve some of these things. We found out this week we got $400,000 back, or we're going to get it back for Poplar Hill Elementary for our geothermal. Some things there. I'm going after every dime that I can get. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of paperwork, but we feel like it's beneficial to the district. Our LED lighting we have for the elementaries, the first phase, we decided that we were going to do all elementaries because they don't seem to get a whole lot of things. We felt like we'd get a really good feel for how things go. We've worked with the contractor. We have a kickoff meeting Thursday. They will be starting to work probably in about 2 to 3 weeks. Takes about a month to 6 weeks to do a school. And we will be rotating through a large number of the elementaries. That program is generating somewhere around $150,000 back from TVA. But all the sports fields are finished, and we're starting with the interior lighting in the campuses. And I hope that probably by midsummer, we'll have 8 to 10 of them completed, and it's something that the board could go see.
So our timeline is looking pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Things are moving along. No major issues so far, no surprises.
No, sir, everything's going well.
Perfect. Love to hear it. Dr. Sullivan, can I ask you about somebody asked me this week about this program. Remember the retiree program where they could still get 70% of their pay? Do you know when that expires? Does it expire the end of this year? Because I was told two different things. End of this year, and then I was told end of 2027.
Let me check. I know it was 26 originally, but I believe it's been extended through 27 at this point. I would hate to lose that because that would help, or that does help. And so I'll get you a date on that for Thursday for sure.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Rosales.
Going back to the LED, because that was something that I was really advocating for. And I remember that we were going to work with the sports area first, changing the lights. We did that. And then we were moving in the interior, changing lights there. How many schools have we changed the interior?
We have not done any yet.
Any of them
It
yet.
starts in about 2 weeks. We will
With the
start.
with the elementary schools.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we're hoping to do, at that point, you said 8 schools?
That'd be 12.
8 to 12. And then when do you think we'll get done with all of the elementary schools and then move with middle school and high school?
Funding.
I thought when we voted a while back,
You gave me we are utilizing 3 million of 177 this year. I will be budgeting another 3 million for 177 next year. And then that will leave us probably a balance of a third year between 4 and 5 million. So it's either going to be 3 or 4 years, depending on how our funding works.
Can I real quick?
okay. I thought we had voted to put money into this for the program so that we can go from one phase, being the sports, and then moving into the interior lights.
That's exactly what we did. We're doing all of it through 177.
Okay. So, all right. Okay, all right, I'm just confused. I thought we just voted for a lump sum of money so that we can keep going forward with it.
Okay, and I have a question after this, too.
You all did, but it's out of Fund 177. It basically allowed us to go ahead and budget multiple years, so it's between 3 and 5 million every year that we're able to do. The problem with 177, it's based on property tax, and so people just paid it in January and February, so we just got all our funding. And so you all really approved it. That Fund 177, we'd love to start in July, but we don't get the money until February, so we're
Right.
just now starting it for this year.
So it'll continue $3 or $4 million until we do all of these.
As long as Fund 177
Exists.
does not get cut.
Right,
yes.
as long as Fund 177 exists, the board voted a long time ago, I think 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years, to approve $3 to $4 million every year until all of the schools get the LED lights.
Or 177.
Out of 177, provided that the funding is there.
Unless it dries up.
Right. I just want to be clear, that's what
I have a question specifically about a school that I came to you about, Central, and we found when we spoke with the city, they have a unique situation. They're in the middle of town. They found out that some of the lights, the big lights, were out, and the city promised that they would help us with that.
It's not the city, it's Middle Tennessee Electric.
Okay.
And I have spoken with Middle Tennessee Electric. They are in the process of getting those lights fixed.
Okay.
That will help us on the perimeter. I have completed a photometrics, which is a lighting study of the campus, and it is underlit. I have been talking with the city. They have admitted they do not have special lighting for the historic district. It's the same as all the rest of the neighborhoods. They were kind of keeping that quiet. We are looking at 2 different proposals, and it will have to go to the city for their approval to relight the campus, to add more lights to the campus. But we have a couple of proposals, and we are working with the city on that now.
Thank you, Trey. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Dr. Sullivan.
Sure, Tidwell. The one I'm looking at from last year, the Senate Bill 251, looks like it sunsets this year unless there's the new amendment to it. So I'm going to ask Toss tomorrow to make sure that there's not another one that I missed somewhere. But I just Senate Bill 251, and it became Public Chapter 159, and it was passed May 2nd, 2025. So I don't imagine there's a newer one, but there could be an amendment that I just haven't read through. No amendments. So it looks like it could be this year, and I sure hope that's not. So, but I'll go do some more digging too.
If you don't mind, please.
Yep.
I just want to say right before we adjourn here, I just want to say yesterday I had the opportunity, I didn't get to do this last year, but I had the opportunity to go to Simon Springs and read to 4th and 5th graders, and it was wonderful. I enjoyed myself out there. They have wonderful faculty out there. It's a wonderful school, and I am so glad that we created that school. Any other comments? Okay. We're adjourned.
Tidwell. Mr. Tidwell. It looks like beginning July 1st. I'll bring it around over here.